Hey everyone,
Hello.
welcome to the chat. Hey Heather. Uh, it's not a coffee chat unless there's a tech issue. It's just becoming like a recurring event. So it's fine though. We figured it out again. So we're on a new link. If you see two events for Heather, that is why the other one ended early and we just couldn't restart it. So we're over here now. Hi.
It works, right?
Yeah. So Heather, how's it going?
Good. Good. How about you?
It's like it's been an eventful day. It's been a busy day, but it's good. Do you want to give people a little background, I guess, first on what is?
Let's break it up again.
Oh no, I see you. Mine's still having internet issues.
So it's a little background on me,
So you're
right? Is
frozen
that what you
again.
said? Oh boy.
Oh no. Yeah, little background on yourself. Yeah.
Okay. So HeatherParady, goodness, for a longest time thought I was going to be a therapist. So I went to school and studied mental health therapy to graduate and get my license and get some job offers, and decided nope, I want to take a chance and build a business and build a brand and try to do something on my own. And so that's been my journey for the past 4 years or so. I've used podcasting as a
Okay.
main marketing platform and a way to connect with people and learn and grow in this space. And yeah, that's me in a nutshell. There's been a lot of business failures and successes and stumbles, just trying to figure out how to make an income online and be in control of your
Yeah,
your life and figure out how to make something out of nothing. So it's been really interesting, but I wouldn't trade it for the world.
that's amazing. And so now you are the community builder, right? For sorry, what was it? It's unconventional leaders, right? And then you're
Mhm.
also the podcast host now. Um, what's the podcast name again? Sorry.
No, you're fine. We have Unconventional
Yeah.
Leaders, which is the
Yeah.
show. And we also have one called Happy Brain, which is through
Happy Brain.
Tiny
That's
Leaps
it.
Big Network, the Tiny Leaps Big Changes Network. And that is our mental health show.
Okay. Then how often do you release those episodes?
Um, those two are 3 episodes a week each, and then I have another show too that releases twice a week. So I'm putting out about 8 episodes a week between all those shows.
Holy cow, that's incredible. Do you
It's
find like that's
crazy.
a I was gonna say it's like a huge workload because people don't seem to understand like what exactly goes into creating this stuff.
It's insane. But like anyone listening, to pursue anything in the
Mhm.
creative field, you have to really love it. It is a lot of work, but it's
Yeah,
also something you wouldn't not want to do, right? We kind of put ourselves in that position.
yeah, exactly. Well, you don't want to do anything that you don't love, right? Because then
Right.
it does seem like work, and when you're doing that much work and you're not enjoying it, then you're
Right.
probably in a
Exactly.
pretty negative
Exactly.
mindset. Which is what
Yep.
we're going to be talking about today, is some mindset stuff. If anyone
Good.
has any questions, drop them in the chat. I have the chat up. Any of your mindset questions, my entrepreneur friends, my actor friends, make sure you're dropping them in the chat. Heather and I will make sure that we looking over and answering them. Oh, hello, Kev. Okay, so maybe we want to start off with just maybe talking about rejection, because I know that's one that comes up for a lot of people, like the fear of judgment, the fear of not fitting in, and it tends to hold a lot of people back.
Sure.
Do you find that you get a lot of people asking questions about fear of judgment?
Sure. And I mean, I've had fear around that myself. That's probably my deepest,
Mhm.
darkest fear is rejection.
Yeah.
The interesting thing I'm learning and working through right now is I have more of a rejection of myself than anyone
Okay.
else does. Right.
Hmm.
And so the game is not just getting comfortable with other people telling you no. The game is getting comfortable enough with yourself where You have accepted yourself fully. You haven't rejected yourself. And when other people seemingly reject you, it doesn't hurt or sting as bad because you've done the inner work to get very comfortable in your own skin.
Yeah.
And you realize that it's not a rejection of you, because that's where a lot of times it goes to. It's like, oh, I'm not good. My work's not
Right.
good. I suck, blah, blah, blah. We internalize it and make it a part of our identity. But again,
Yeah.
when we've done the inner work, when we focused on our own acceptance of ourselves, we can objectify, quote, rejection, and see that it's just something that's circumstantial that could have many different reasons why it didn't work out, but it wasn't rejection of us as a creative person or as an individual. And that's
Yeah.
way easier said than done, but it can be done with
Yeah.
intention.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. Depending on what like thing, we go for so many auditions and we don't book, right? Rejection sometimes just has nothing to do with you, or it's completely out of your control for something as simple as you look like the producer's ex-girlfriend. And like for entrepreneurs, the rejection is, oh, well, what if everybody doesn't like what I'm putting out? Like, what if everybody
Right.
doesn't buy my product? Like, and it's not about
Right.
everybody else, and we need to understand that. And that's
Yeah.
like it's harder said than done.
One of the best things that I did when I very first started in the acting space, which I'm very new to it, I'm
Yeah.
only a couple of years in, is the very first thing I did, like gig wise, was I was a reader for
Yeah.
auditions. And that was the
Okay.
best thing that I ever could have done, because I sat
Yeah.
there and heard the director why he was dismissing people. And there were so many different
Okay.
reasons why he dismissed people. He was like, exactly what you said. Oh, that guy
Yeah.
reminded me of this one dude at this one time, blah, blah, blah. Or,
Yeah.
oh, I mean, it was like these super weird, obscure reasons. In fact, I remember him one
Yeah.
time saying that was so, so good, but I was envisioning somebody
Yeah.
with a different color hair. And
Yeah.
nobody gets that feedback. They just get a no. They don't know that it
Yeah.
had nothing to do with what they think it had to do with. And so I'm so grateful for that experience. I think if you haven't sat
Yeah.
in and been a reader and like heard the decision-making process, it's incredibly valuable.
Yeah, that I have never heard that before from anybody. So yeah, like I've heard people talk about why you might get rejected, but I've never actually heard somebody's actually sat in on the decision making process before. So that's really interesting.
I remember one
Yeah.
time he said something about the long lines of, "Oh, he reminds me of this weird dream I had once. I can't get over that." And I'm like,
Oh,
"A
really?
dream you had? You're going to dismiss somebody
Yeah.
because of a dream?"
Yeah.
So yeah, it's crazy.
That's that is crazy. And then like for entrepreneurs, if we go the other way, even though like actors are technically entrepreneurs, but like if you have a
100%
small
they are.
business, right? If you have like a small business too, the rejection is like we start hiding ourselves, or we think that we can only post perfection with our small business, where people like seeing like the messy behind the scenes stuff. Uh,
100%.
like this right here, our tech issues. It's not
Right,
perfect. We're
right.
still trying to go. And I think that people need to understand that that makes you more relatable.
Yeah,
The fact
yep.
that you are not just like posting Instagram perfection. It doesn't make you. I know we are afraid because of the fear of judgment, people are going to judge us, but it doesn't make you less of a business. It makes you more of a real business, if that
Right.
makes sense. Yeah.
100%. And
Um,
and people aren't paying as much of attention to us as we think they are, and that's when you really start getting into marketing, you realize how hard it is to get people's attention. I mean, I'm sure you've
yeah,
experienced that, Jen, like with your coffee chats and
yeah,
stuff. It's like, "Hey, look at us, look
yeah,
at us, look at us." Like, come. It's
yeah,
hard to get people's eyeballs
yeah,
on your stuff, but we're terrified because we think everybody's looking at us when they're not. They're worried about themselves. They're
yeah,
in their own
for
world. And if
sure.
anything else, people, like you said, think about our own behavior. We connect with brands that are human.
Yeah,
So why would anybody else be different, right?
yeah, exactly. Oh, your screen froze again. And you're back. You froze for a second. Like, oh, you're back. Yeah, I know it's a hard thing to understand, like that at the same time, we're afraid that so many people are going to see this, but at the same time, not a lot of people are seeing this, especially with the new algorithms on social media. Unless you're paying for those people to see it, not all of your audience is going to be seeing what you're putting out.
Right.
But hopefully the right ones are seeing it. Yeah, you're attracting your ideal people to you by being your authentic self. And I feel like be your authentic self and be yourself is getting a little lost lately because there's so many people preaching that. But it's such an important point, I think, to get across.
It never hurts hearing it again.
It's like, do you have any tips for people to show up as their authentic self, Heather?
Oh, wow. I think a very practical thing is finding a platform that you really, really enjoy that isn't your main platform that you can play around with. Oh, and I was really grateful with TikTok when it came out. Right now, everybody's on TikTok, but when it first came out, not that many people were, definitely nobody that I knew. So I felt like it was a very free place for me to experiment with content and play with things without being worried that Aunt Janet was going to see it. So I think finding an obscure social media platform with that you just want to play with is a really great way to kind of get comfortable in your skin and start playing with different content types. And then when you get more comfortable, you can start moving that content over to like Facebook or Instagram or some of your bigger platforms. It's kind of like, going to a smaller party and being yourself to build up the muscle to go to the bigger party and be yourself. So that's a very tactical thing. I think kind of the more big picture thing is to not neglect your inner work. Like, do not neglect your inner work because all of this is a psychology game. It really is. It's everybody wants to talk about hashtags and algorithms and blah, 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 but really it's a psychology game of how comfortable and confident are you, right? Because people can pick that up instantly. And that's what people are connected to. And we really need more good people, good well-meaning, kind, generous, empathetic leaders, creatives in this space because there's so many assholes on it who are confident in putting out whatever they want to put out, and they're getting seen and it's getting shown because they don't have a second thought to it. So my whole hope is to raise up a generation of leaders, of heart-centered leaders to put out more content and really show what it means to be a human being online. And that requires a lot of inner work.
Yeah. And the funny thing is that inner work is the thing that people tend to neglect. We tend to focus on the do externally, and we forget that don't have it internally, it's not going to be in our external world. So if we're not confident
100%.
in here, we're not going to actually present confidence out here.
100%. 100%. And that's what people are looking for,
Do you have do you have like a go-to thing to help with your mindset every day? Is there anything like you start like with meditation, or do you have any other things that helps get you in like a framework?
Well, I do have a routine that I think is really important. I think, I think enough people have preached on, different routines. You got to figure out what works for you, spiritual practice, taking care of yourself, all that. But what's top of mind when you say that is really being intentional with the people that you spend time with, and that they're movers and shakers, and they're the type of people that you want to be. And even half a step ahead of you, just finding a crowd that is half a step ahead of you and where you want to be and how you want to show up is so important because they redefine what normal is. Right? So if we're hanging out with a whole bunch of people who were scared and timid and not putting themselves out there and not creating a life for themselves, we're going to see that as the normal. But when you have some badasses in your life who are like kicking tail, taking names, showing up, they're not perfect. They're still human. It challenges you because it's like, oh, this is normal. This is what's out there. This is what's possible for me. So I think really being intentional with your community. And even if it's one person, two people, three people, I'd rather have two or three people who are killing it and serious about their work than having a ton of friends who are half-assing it.
Yeah. And I love how you brought that up too, because even like in your home environment, being an entrepreneur, being an actor, and if you're in a household of 9 to 5ers, they might not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily understand what you're doing, or they might not
100%.
be supportive of it. And
Yeah.
it's really important to have those people, like you just mentioned, that are in your circle that you can go to for
Yep.
support if you don't have that support in your home environment. So,
There's a really good teaching by Esther Perel, and I don't know if you're familiar with her. I heard her
mm-hmm.
speak a couple of years back, and she said something so eye-opening to me, or to me, to the crowd. I was there. It felt like it was to me. But she was talking specifically about your partners. And she said a lot of
Okay.
times we want our partners to be, our lover, our best friend, our business
Yeah.
support, our this, or that, or whatever. And she was like, they can't do all those things. And so
Yeah.
luckily, I lucked out where my spouse is super supportive of all my crazy stuff. But either
Yeah.
way, understanding that he doesn't like, nor can handle, nor wants to listen to all of my entrepreneurial crazy stuff, that's
Yeah.
for my friends. And he's more there for, to be my
Yeah.
husband and emotional support and all that stuff. And so really understanding, like you said, if that support's not there,
Hmm.
maybe they
Yeah.
don't have the capacity, maybe they don't have the understanding, and that's okay, as long as you can
Yeah.
find that in a best friend or a business partner or whatever. Find it in someone.
Yeah. Yeah. I wanted to move into from there because we're talking about partners. Have you ever touched on people who are in toxic environments? Um, because I feel like if you're in a toxic environment with a partner or a friend or somebody in your workplace, I feel like that can be holding a lot of people back. And toxic in narcissism can be used as a generalization term right now in
Mm-hmm.
2021. I find like it sometimes gets overused, but at the same time, there are those people that are like truly people with narcissistic personality disorder, truly really toxic people. People just continue to
Absolutely.
put them on a daily basis instead
Right.
of to help themselves so that they can be productive in their environment.
Right, right. Well, you just got to get to a point where you make a decision like, do I really
Mm,
want this? Do I really want
mm,
this dream? Do I really want to make it as
mm,
an actor or an actress? Do I really want to make
mm,
it in this
mm,
business? And it feels, I know I'm more of a kind of empathetic
mm.
helper person. Like I really love people. So sometimes it feels like
Yeah,
I'm being a jerk, cutting certain people out. But in the same
yeah,
sense, right? Like there's no
yeah.
service being made. There's no they're
Mm,
not being served, you're not being served. And we
mm,
we trick ourselves to believe that, we're
mm,
helping them or they need us or whatever,
mm,
when really it's an illusion that just so
mm,
happens to be keeping us back from the thing that we say that we want. So it gets to a point where, we have to take ownership of staying in toxic environments and
mm,
staying in toxic relationships and staying in toxic friendships and stuff, where I'm not saying it's easy to
mm,
walk away from that, but in the same sense, we
mm.
do have a choice. And if we're
Yeah.
continually choosing to engage in that, um,
Mm.
it's going to rob us in the end, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna eat at you, and you're gonna be spending so much unnecessary energy on it that you'd be devoting to something
Right.
else.
Right.
So I love that you say taking responsibility because that's a big thing too, is taking responsibility for everything in your life, including all the bad. Like, what part
Absolutely.
did you play in this? And
Absolutely.
what choice do you have to
Yes.
make?
Yes.
And I don't know if my mic's close. I was just noticing that my mic's so far away. Can you hear
Yeah, you're good. You're good. You're
me?
good.
So like I feel like when we say that we don't have a choice, it's because we don't like the choice, right?
Yes.
Where we always have
Yes.
a choice, it just might not be a choice that we like. So that's when
Yeah.
we get into the well, we don't have a choice. Like, no, you have a choice. You just don't like that choice that you have to make. So now you have to choose between two things you don't like, but you still have a
100%.
choice. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So Kev, he asked, Heather, what's your favorite platform? Sorry, that was a bit delayed.
I would say I TikTok is probably my favorite. I've been really getting into
Yeah.
Instagram Reels too. I really love anything
Oh,
that's like skit oriented and kind of goofy.
yeah.
I'd say that. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been loving your reels, and like some of them are like so relatable. I'm like, yep, okay, I felt that one. Yep,
Oh,
okay.
good. Good, good, good. Yeah, I'm trying to get back on it. I took a lot of, oh my goodness, which is just an excuse. I've got to get over it, but just figuring out
Yeah.
how to stay on top of that. But I want to start
Mm.
doing at least one a day, and that's my goal right
Yeah.
now is to show up. Yeah.
Yeah. With excuses, do you find that when you're making excuses, it's because of like a couple key things or fears? Or do you
Hmm.
find like you actually think that these are like actual things that are actually holding you back? Because so many times, like, oh, well, oh, that's just an excuse. That's just an excuse. But sometimes like, there's an actual uncontrollable situation that you can't prevent, right?
Yeah, that's such a great question. I
Mm,
think for me right now in this season, yeah, I
mm,
definitely have used excuses for fears, but right now I'm trying
mm,
to figure out how to literally fit everything into my day. Like
right?
literally. The thing is though, it's interesting, is the
Mm,
thing that I feel like really
yeah.
moves the needle with
Yeah.
marketing and my I throw to the side. So I'm challenge my mindset of like, okay, yes, you need to say
Mm,
no to something, but why are you saying no to the thing that you enjoy and that you really think does
yeah.
move the needle? Like, what is it about that? Because I'll show up and
Yeah.
do all these other things, but then run out of time in the day in the stuff that I really love doing, like reels and
Yeah.
TikTok. And I know that sounds silly, but dude,
Mm,
like I've had some really cool opportunities because of it. Like some really cool
yeah.
things happened last year because of those
Yeah.
platforms, and I've just put them on the back burner. But no more excuses. So
Mm. Awesome. I love that. Yeah, I find like your day fills up so fast, and when you fill your schedule up to the brim, there, it's always
yes,
going to go past that. There's like a, I forget what the rule's called, but you're supposed to like leave space because your time will always fill up. But I forget what the actual rule name
mm,
is. And then the other thing is that those excuses that we're making sometimes can help give us like insight into
hmm
things that we actually want to do or we actually really don't want to do, or mindset, like new level new devil mindset, things that we still need to work on. So
totally,
if we're making an excuse of fear, that's for something that we want to do, that's a mindset thing that we need to go to. Or if we're making an
100%.
excuse constantly about this one thing, maybe we don't actually really want to do that, so we need to revisit that. So I feel like sometimes excuses get a bad rep. At the same time, excuses can give you insight if you take the time to go, oh, I keep making excuses about that. Is there something else there for a mindset? Or maybe I just really don't want to do this and I need to redirect.
That's super insightful. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're drinking real coffee.
Yeah,
You weren't playing in the coffee chat, were you?
it's not coffee. It's afternoon caffeine tired.
That's what's up. Yeah, I feel you.
We're not pretty healthy here apparently.
Hey, dude, I'm about to make some
But my
coffee
cup
after this
says
too.
it's my I don't there's more. Sip happens.
Sip happens. That's cute.
Yeah, it's been the coffee chat mug since we started coffee chat. It's fine.
That's
Like tech
cool.
issues, it's fine.
Yep, yep. Keep rolling
Is
with
there
it.
like I was I used to ask this question a lot in season one, and I feel like um it's really interesting what people give for the answer. What's the best advice you'd give to your younger self?
Hmm. Um, man,
I know it puts people on the spot.
this is very specific and probably going to make a lot of people mad, but it's just the truth. um, honestly, I would tell myself to stop serving so much in church and go make something for myself.
Okay.
I was very involved in church and it to a point where I couldn't even think clearly of what I wanted to do with
Mhm.
my life. And I had a really kind
Yeah.
of toxic mindset around service and what it meant
Mm,
to be someone who followed Jesus, where it's to a
mm,
point where it was like toxic servanthood. And
Yeah.
it caused me to put a lot of my own desires and creativity and what I really wanted on the back burner because I felt
Mm,
guilty about what I wanted, that
mm,
you should deny all of your desires and deny
mhm.
everything that lights you up because that's not
Yeah.
service. And what I've been
Mm,
learning through like finding God in unconventional ways is that he designed you uniquely for a reason, and all the
yeah.
desires in your heart are there for a reason, and that
Yeah.
following it isn't unholy. It's some of the most holy stuff you could do is following
Right.
that nudge and creating stuff. So again, an unconventional answer, but that's just the truth.
Yeah, and it's completely fine. Like I was baptized Catholic because my parents weren't allowed to get married unless my dad agreed to do that when my parents had kids because he was Lutheran and my mom was Catholic.
Yep.
But
Yep.
like I don't go to church every Sunday, but I'm still like I still believe in God. And like
Yep.
I'm split with my husband, so my ex.
Yep.
They go to
Yep.
church all the time. And my daughter
Yep.
got really into church and wanted to go every Sunday. And during the pandemic, I
Mhm.
kept telling her, you don't have to be in a church to be a Christian. You don't have to be in a church to talk
100%.
to God. You don't
A
have to be in
hundred
a
percent.
church to do anything to do with God. And then the
A
other
hundred
thing
percent.
is that all these things coming up in 2021 with like LGBTQ and crap.
Come on.
It's basically what I keep trying to tell her is that um, you don't have to agree with everything you're doing, including the Bible. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yep.
like if a book or the Bible, you can still love something, you can still be dedicated to a thing, and still not 100% agree with everything.
Yep. Yep.
So
100%. 100%. Yep.
God gave us the ability to think. Use your own head.
Use your brain, Janet. That's
Yeah.
right.
So that's what I have to say about that. I know that might tick some people off too, but you don't have to agree with everything in that book. And I keep saying that book's probably been rewritten how many times over thousands of years. It's like a
Yeah.
game of telephone. How do you know it's the same that it was before? So
I just think we
use
should go back to
your
super
head, be a good
common
person.
sense, right? Like, is
Yeah.
this love? Are we really loving
Yeah.
people right now? Like, does this feel
Yeah.
good
Are
to
you
you?
being kind?
I mean, like, let's get to the basics here,
Yeah.
right?
Like,
So I'm with you on that.
yeah. Are you being a good person? Are you being kind? Are you in integrity with yourself and other people?
Exactly. Yep. Yep.
Yes. And that's what I have to say about that without taking any more people off.
I'm with you.
Coffee chat went to church today.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
um, just checking the chat, make sure that we didn't miss any questions. Okay. So I feel we're coming on 30 minutes. Is there something that you really want to leave people with? Like your main message that you really want people to understand?
Sure. Just that it is worth it. It's worth staying in the game. It's worth pushing through. It's worth adjusting and pivoting and failing and falling and getting rejected. It's worth all of that because I think at the end of our lives, we're not going to be like, man, like if anything else, we're going to be like, I wish I would have tried harder and stayed in longer and just went after the
Mm,
things. Everybody's human, and no matter how plastic and perfect and seamless it may seem to other people, we don't see the behind the scenes. And if you really do digging into all the people that you admire and respect into their life, into their work, it was just years and years of heartache and failure and struggle. And then one day it popped. That's not the most inspirational, awesome thing to hear, but that's the reality of it. And so if you're
yep.
in the game, you're
Yeah.
winning. If you haven't given up, you're winning.
Mm,
And it's an honor to be able to do
mm,
the work that we get to do. Because we could just be walking the conventional path. And what fun is that, right?
right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And that's such an important point to leave people with is that you don't see a lot of the behind the scenes, especially
Mm,
on platforms like Instagram where people have to post insta perfect. So you
right.
have no idea what leaving people with. You have
Sure. It's HeatherParady
I
everywhere.
don't know if I cut out the
HeatherParady.com,
internet
at
cut out for a
HeatherParady.
second. I was just saying,
Nope.
where can we find you to follow you?
It's at HeatherParady everywhere. At HeatherParady.
If it was cutting it for me, hopefully it wasn't cutting it for other people. I put okay. Oh, you're back. Okay. At HeatherParady everywhere. I put the links all below this video too, if you can go over and them out. And Heather, as she said, she releases content 5 times a week. So make sure to check that out for some great mental health stuff.
Awesome.
Is there anything else you want to leave people with, Heather, before we go?
No, just thank you to you. And if you've enjoyed this, make sure you give Jen a follow, give her a subscribe, give her a review, support the work that she's doing, because content creation isn't easy. So make sure you're supporting her work too. Thank you, Jen.
Oh, thanks so much, Heather. I really appreciate that. And thanks for putting up with our internet connectivity issues.
Oh, it happens. It happens.
All right. Have an amazing day, Heather, and everyone else.
Bye.
Bye.